shit. Is this yours, Prashant?
Okay, alright, nice. Always when you need it to work the most is when you start finding all the errors. Alright, just like play it, and that's it. That's really all it needs.
And we're live. I think that's how the cookie crumbles. What up, everybody? This is icantproduce. And this is our debut episode of the podcast. And I've got my good friend Prashant on with me, and we're gonna talk real shit, I guess, for the whole episode. How you doing, Prashant?
How's it going, y'all? Doing good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Debut episode. Congratulations. I know it's been in the works for a while, so happy to be a part of it.
Dude,
I know it's been a lot of work in the making, so definitely appreciative that you brought me out for the debut episode.
Thank you. We could go back and forth with that all day. I've been wanting to do this for a while because Joe Rogan, and I was kind of like my introduction to the podcast world, and I was like, I could just do something like this with music. Like, that's all I talk about basically. It's just like, I feel like I learned so much through conversation, and I learned so much just like through listening, to podcasts, that I just wanted to kind of do something similar.
No, I definitely got that. Awesome.
This is a music podcast. So like, hold on, give me 1 second. I do have some questions lined up just to kind of like get things started. Basically, let's see. I'll just pick from. So yeah, no. I'll ask you a question. What's your favorite artist or concert experience? Because I feel like I kind of have this question up here because I feel like there's like one defining moment that really made me feel like there was like kind of like fuck everything else. I'm gonna make music regardless of if I think it's a stupid career to go down. And I feel like a lot of artists have that experience, and I feel like you do too. Like I feel like we talked about this before, but I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think that my moment that kind of made it like really surreal. I don't know, like it wasn't any like specific performance that made me get into production itself. Like I've just always been a fan of the music. I started going to like my first real concerts were pop punk and like metal concerts when I was like 14, like Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens,
Yo, yeah.
shout out All Time Low, A Day to Remember. It's like a bunch of rock bands. Like I wasn't even like I would listen to rap, but I would go to like rock shows more because they were I guess more accessible and a little bit easier to pass my parents with. But it was just the feeling of being at a show was something that was certainly like the closest thing to real life magic that I'd ever like had, just to suddenly be in like a giant, like I would always be in like the GA area and like in the pit, and there's just such a overwhelming sense of community as like everyone's listening to this live band that you all love and like have been listening to on your own paths for months or years or however long, and I don't know, you're with your friends, it's a good time, everyone's having fun, like it's just a great place. And live music was definitely something that's always just kind of like really driven me to always be in touch with the music scene. Like I went to 5 years of Warp Tour
Hell
before
yeah,
they
dude.
ended. I went to the last Warp Tour.
I never went to Warp Tour, man, but fuck yeah, no, that sounds. We were totally into the same music, like growing up. I saw All Time Low for sure.
Oh yeah, no, All Time Low was always fun. But honestly, like they were just better live than recorded. Like they just had great like stage presence and everything. They were really fun to watch. Um, but I don't know, yeah, like it was always something like that. And then I don't know, I got older. I stopped having enough energy to jump into like tons of mosh pits and stuff, and I started going to more rap shows. I've done like a couple music festivals that were pretty cool. I went to like Osheaga in Canada with a couple friends, I think like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I saw like the first ever live performance of Sicko Mode, and that was crazy. Like I literally have like on video in my snap memories, like Travis going like first time ever, and everyone's like, no, he did Astroworld at Lollapalooza the night before, but that's Cap. I'm gonna tell you that's Cap right now. He did like I don't know, like maybe like one or two songs of Astroworld, but I got like the first real date of the Astroworld tour, so that was super cool to see. And just like I don't know, again, like a day of festival in Canada with a bunch of friends of mine. We just like all kind of tripped up. We got an Airbnb. I don't know. I never really like traveled with my friends, so like whether it was the festival or whether it was just traveling, like it was just a dope experience overall. And I don't think anything particularly like got me into music that made me be like, oh yeah, no, like this is what I'm gonna do. Like my moment wasn't that with like live concerts, but like live concerts always made me be like, I don't know, like there's just something about performing. Like I was a dancer at school. I picked up DJing in my last year, and DJing was so dope just because it gave me a chance to like perform without having to be like a frontman performer. I guess I like I could show technical skills, and that was my performance. So definitely want to get back into doing that. I miss doing shows. But now probably next time I'm gonna be doing shows is unless I start booking gigs in downtown Boston, I'll probably have to wait until fingers crossed I go on tour.
Yeah, man, that's fucking dope. So tell me, yeah, no, I was that leads into what I was gonna ask you. Tell me about like your latest music, like your latest release, because you and I have totally been working on music for the same amount of time, but you have put out 100% more releases than I have. And I feel like that's what is so to everybody who's listening, I played or you heard the song Vice off of Volume 4, just to put that out there. Like what do you think your style's kind of like evolved into, what do you think you've kind of done with this last EP?
It's kind of interesting because my like release vision is kind of a little sporadic, and maybe it's something that I kind of want to, I don't know, curtail a little bit more. But I think that it's very momentum based right now. And so really what ended up happening was when I first started making music, I eventually got to a point where I was like, you know what, this is good enough that if people like, if I play music for people, they're like, yo, like, where can I find more of this? I started being like, you know what? Maybe I'll work on uploading to SoundCloud. And I started just putting every like 3 to 6 months, I would put up essentially like a portfolio of the best music I could create at the time. And whether it was like a little project or an EP or whatever, like I don't know, they weren't really any succinct projects, but they were things that I knew that I had the foresight to be like, day in, day out, I I can't see or feel the tangible progress that I am making. But if I just put up music and maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, maybe I'll be able to see it grow at that point. Because I don't know, you're at your laptop day in, day out. It feels like you're just doing the same thing, but it's like it's very much baby steps. So I'm incredibly grateful that I had that kind of foresight to start doing that. And eventually got to a point where I was posting and I was like, you know what? Like, honestly, it really just came down to I was kind of tired of telling people, like, oh, yeah, no, like, go check me out on SoundCloud. Like, you can hear me here. And it's not that there's like anything bad by being on SoundCloud by any means. Like, SoundCloud has birthed superstars, like so many superstars. But it was just like the way that I could see people's eyes, like kind of fall, and they're like, "Oh, okay, he's on SoundCloud." And I was
Yeah,
like, you know what?
I
Maybe I'll
can't
take it
stand that
further
stigma
up.
to this day.
Right? Like it was just kind of annoying, and like I didn't really like the way that it made people look. So I was like, you know what? Like maybe I'll just make the move to Spotify. And I kind of picked up a manager around that time, and he had like he knew about DistroKid, and I kind of had heard about it, but it seemed just too much work and not really what I felt like doing it at all. So I was like, you know what? Maybe Spotify is the move. So he ended up putting together my DistroKid, and I made like my first release, and it was just kind of cool to like see myself like on Spotify. It wasn't like anyone was really listening to what I was putting out, and it wasn't like I was trying to blow up off of these. Like these were just portfolios for myself. And then if people wanted to hear like, oh, you make beats, like where can I find you? I'm like, actually, check me out on Spotify, bro. I'm there. And it was just cool to kind of have like an official landing page.
Definitely.
But then I don't know, like my second volume that I ended up releasing like early 2020, I think in like January. I don't know, I just like put it out. I didn't think anything of it. Again, just another release that I was trying to give myself a timestamp for down the road. And like early July, I think I was at like my first week or second week of my job that I had just picked up. Like I just started working full time at this biotech company, and my manager is just like calling my phone, like blowing up my line, like FaceTiming me, texting me, and I just feel my phone going crazy in my pocket. And I'm in like the middle of a meeting, so I'm like, yo, like I can't talk, but like text like, what is going on? Like, why are you doing this? And he's like, you need to check your email right now. You just got picked up by like some Spotify playlists. And I was like, oh, okay. And the one email that like I got and I saw was like for this one playlist that had like I don't know like 100,000 likes on it, and I was like, damn, that's crazy. And on my lunch break, I kind of looked into it a little further, and it turns out I got picked up by like 5 playlists, and each of them had like more listeners than the last. And I was like, oh my god, what is going on? And it was literally just a beat that like the original file for it was called "Clap for Credit." Because I literally made this like there's this class at UW Madison that was like a performance art based class that you just kind of sit in. It was just a 1 credit class. Like you watch musical performers go up, they like say a little spiel, and you just like answer a small quiz. It was just like a guaranteed easy A, a nice class to break up your day. And like if you wanted to, I don't know, like just do homework or in my case make beats, no one really like was about to stop you.
Yeah.
So I remember I was just making this beat like any other day, like clockwork, one headphone in, not paying attention to the class, just like working on something. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I'll throw this on the project. And next thing I know, I'm here right now. And I don't know, it's like at over 1 million streams on Spotify.
Hell yeah, dude. That's such a heartwarming story.
Which is just like so crazy. To even like say or think about. Like it's just it was one of those things that it wasn't in the car. Like I didn't plan on that happening. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna tap into this instrumental market. Like I knew that people listen to like lo-fi beats to study, but I didn't think that there was like huge playlists full of people that like listen to it all day at work and everything like that. So I don't know, it was just kind of crazy and surreal because I remember literally like earlier that month, I had 24 monthly listeners. And I was just super geeked to even have 24. Like I hadn't really released that much music. I had dropped like a single like at the end of 2019, and this was like mid 2020 now. And I was like, damn, like I haven't put out any music recently. There's still 24 people that have chosen to like listen to the music that I'm making. Like that's super dope. And then like 2 months later, I had like 135,000, and I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, dude. I
Um,
with I like I just listened to Volume 4 before the yeah, before we started the podcast, and it's like it's just like everything. It's like when we first started making beats together, and you were just like, no, this is my vibe, and you just kept getting better at your style, I feel like. And that's really when I listened to Volume 4, I was just like, oh man, like it gave me clap for credit vibes, I guess is what you could say. It was like I feel like
yeah,
you've really stuck true to like all the stuff that I heard back in like 2017 or like shit when we were hanging out in the dorms.
yeah, no, that's just like so crazy because like one thing that this has now like created is for people that kind of want to like understand what the process is like and where I started at, even like started at being like 2.5 years into making music. I thought I had kind of figured it out enough so that like whatever I released, I wouldn't look back at and be like, that was pretty dumb. Like 3 weeks later, like that used to be the turnaround. Like I'd make beats, and then within like 3 weeks or like a month, I'd be like, yeah, that was trash. I don't like that. And then it slowly kind of got to a point where I was like, no, like that kind of holds up. Like that's still pretty cool. So like you can see me start 2.5 years in at volume 1, and then like listen to volume 1 through volume 4, and you'll just notice like stylistic choices, things that I did slowly start to get better at. Like my mixing is improved, my sound selection's improved. I feel like I create with a lot more intent now. And it used to be like even last year, with the at the start of the pandemic, I don't remember why I remember the date, but I came home March 19th from Wisconsin. And I remember the only thing I did was just like sit in my basement, like do some homework, and then just make beats all day. And I remember like April 19th rolled around, and I was just like, oh, like it's been like exactly a month. I wonder how many beats I made. And I made like 27 beats, and I was like, wow, like that's pretty close to like a beat a day. That's pretty good. And if that's just like what I'm doing, like normally, like what happens if I apply pressure? So then the next month, I challenged myself and I made 60 beats, which is about two a day. And that was hard. I'm not gonna lie, like that was incredibly tough just to kind of fight through creative blocks and try and like keep making them. It's not like two project files a day. No, 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 like two finished beats a day. So I had like hundreds of project files by the end of this.
Right.
And then after that was done, it was like May 19th, and I was like, well, I'm at 87 beats. Like, I should just make 100. So then I ended up making 100 by like the end of May. I took a little break, and then I started working full time after I moved out of Wisconsin. I think like early July, I started again, and I did a road to another 100 beats. Ended up making like, I don't know, like 200 something beats by the end of the year, and it was cool. It was a great exercise for working with quantity, but now my big thing is switching over to quality and really like becoming more intentional with everything I create. Like not only with what I write, but also my melodies that I make. Like for the great deal of that road to 200 beats, like most of it was loops. There's no way I could have written 200 different melodies and like not been driven crazy. Um, so a lot of it was loops, and it definitely didn't feel like everything was particularly like great or um I don't know. what's like a word? It didn't feel very progressive. Some of it definitely felt like I was just making the same thing over and over, but it was a good lesson in understanding what repetition will give you. Because I unearthed like some new drum patterns that I really liked in different pockets and syncopation that I really enjoyed, and it was definitely cool. So now I think that like moving forward, obviously, I always think that what I'm making now is just way better than whatever I was making before. But I mean, let's face it, like wherever you are right now, it's the best you've ever been. So I'm just excited to see again now, like what another year brings, and 2 years, and 5 years. Like I just think that if you give me time, I'm dangerous.
Hell
And
yeah.
all I have right now is a lot of time.
Good shit. Wait, no, I actually have a question. So you're totally, I see a lot of artists doing this. Or not like I think you should do this as an artist, which is like make a shit ton of beats. But how do you go from how do you pick out of like the 100 beats that you made in like a span of like 2 months? How do you pick 5 to put on an EP like that like that's always kind of because what I see nowadays what I think I see at least in the industry is like people kind of just like submitting, like I'll see different, at least in the scene, like in the bass scene, I'll see these like artists on like 5 different record labels, and it gives me the vibe that what they're doing is making a shit ton of beats on their free time, like probably just because they want to. And the ones that, let's say, don't make it into their own EPs or like their releases or aren't part of like this full on project, like they feel like there's an opportunity to just kind of send it in to a record label to see if it's good enough. And I think it's awesome because I get to hear the music, but I think it really takes away a sense of intent. And you I don't know, I think you threw that word out there. So like, yeah, how did you pick like what ends up on your EP, and then like kind of what do you decide is good?
Yeah, no, that's definitely like a great question because there is just so much to sort through. And like when you start making, and let's say, like, I don't know, I'm throwing these numbers around like it's casual, like making 200 beats in a year, like over 200 beats in a year, was probably the combined total of like 2.5 years worth of work before then. Like never in my life have I had this much productivity, time, and motivation to want to try and do stuff like this. So like when you're making a much smaller quantity of beats a month, a week, a day, or whatever, like you kind of become very attached to all of them because they're all your babies. You put a bunch of time into it. You want to shape it just right, and you want to get it like exactly the way that you hear it in your head. But I don't know, once you kind of start breaking into high quantity numbers, you're able to detach a little bit more. But what like still remains true is that there's going to be a couple that like continue to stand out, and not only like stand out, but like give like beats that I know are great beats, or beats that I like, and they like just didn't get placed and they didn't find a forever home or whatever. But I think that they should still be heard. That's kind of my criteria for it. It's beats that just like all these volumes are tracks that I couldn't find someone for, but that I still knew were special, and I wasn't going to not let get released, I guess.
Gotcha. No, that's cool.
And they don't always have to be like the most complex or the craziest beats, um, or like sound like completely genre bending. Like most of the beats I end up posting are just, I don't know, pretty typical beats. But there's small subtle things in them. Like if you listen to this beat Picture off Volume 4, it sounds just like any other interesting, nice melodic guitar beat. But it's in 3/4, and I had to program all my drums entirely off grid, and it was a nightmare. No one's gonna know that because I did it pretty much seamlessly. And unless you understand like how to pick out 3/4 time signatures in music, like it's going to sound normal. But like I know it, and it was a beat that I thought was really cool, and it didn't get picked up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drop this myself. And then there's also beats like I think on Volume 3, I want to say it's called Dissociate. It's just like it's a track that just sounds like larger than a beat. It's pretty close to an EDM track. Like I don't know, I feel like it's almost like softcore EDM. I don't know. It's somewhere in that hybrid lane, but it was almost too busy for like a normal vocalist to even attack it. I couldn't really find anyone that wanted to do anything with it, but I knew that it was dope and I wanted it out either way, so I dropped it.
Hell yeah.
And that's like the one nice thing about it is that like life as a producer is basically whatever music you see get released is probably about a year old by the time it makes its way out. So in releasing my own music by myself, I get to choose when things get dropped, what time point they represent, and how like significant it is to me. Like if it's going to be a part of this project, if I'm going to like just end up throwing it up on SoundCloud because I just wanted it to be out there and I didn't really care about who heard it. I just wanted it to be on a public platform. Or I don't know, like it just gives you a lot more freedom to control what it is that like you want the audience to have accessible. Oh, shit.
Good shit. No. That makes. So when you say you get like other tracks picked up, do you like? I guess that kind of goes back to what I was saying. Do you take? Do you like try and pawn off your tracks? Maybe like maybe the one when you say Forever Home, like how do you try and sell your beats? Do you put them up on Bandcamp, or is DistroKid like a way that people pick it up if they want to rap over it, or if they like, or do you have a website? Like
Yeah, I have a website that's like been in the works for a while. I don't really do a lot of really it's just I kind of just feed my personal artist network.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I have, I don't know, a slew of people that I work with, and they're all, excuse me, they're all over the place in terms of their styles. I have um, like from like pop music, R&B, trap, like almost like punk, rock, trap, hybrid. I don't know. You got like melodic hip hop beats. You got almost some futuristic stylings. Like it's a little all over the, and that's what I like is that like I don't really, I'm not super concerned about selling a bunch of beats, which I'm fortunate enough to have that stance on it just because that's the one upside to juggling doing music and work time is that I don't have to eat off my music to like be straight. Like I have a job that pays my bills or whatever. But it gives me the freedom to pick and choose and just stock up my vault so that I know it's been a long time coming and it feels like we've been saying it forever, but just for whenever COVID finally decides to leave us the fuck alone, like oh sorry, I've been trying to like not curse and that
I wouldn't worry about that. I'm not a very family friendly person all the time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is not a family friendly show. Just if people want to get down and dirty, I will not stop you.
Well, yeah, like my main thing is that just like if I'm in a session and someone says, "Yo, you got any blank type beats?" I will always just say yes. Like there will almost always be something, and I love just like I don't know. Sometimes I'll hop on Instagram Live or like somewhere, and I'll be like, "Yo, like give me give me either a number or an artist that you want to hear some like type beat from." Like I just want to make sure and test myself always that like I just want to always have things on hand. And whether that's something that the artist might choose or might be like, you know what, like that's cool, but that's not really what I'm looking for. It gives me a ballpark to at least kind of find myself in, and it tests out a bunch of different styles. So I know a lot of people will usually set out and be like, all right, I'm gonna make beats for this artist. I'm gonna cook them up a pack. Here I go. And I just kind of sit down every day and I'm like, I'll make some beats that I want to make, and they'll either be like Uzi style beats, like hyper pop, or like melodic trap, or I'll just be like, you know what, I'm gonna make some super gritty, the Count style drums that like just go absolutely crazy and have these super swingy and syncopated drum pockets that like I want to make just a challenge. Like I'll make whatever I want to make, and I'll worry about placing it later.
Gotcha. Yeah. No. That like I said, it's You definitely have more music than I do, because you're right. Like I feel like I'm still kind of in that phase where I make music, and I spend a lot of time on these tracks, and I get really attached to them.
Mm.
And it's I
Which is
practice.
totally fine, by the way. Like
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
100% like okay to do that. The only reason I'm able to do this is because like I got very comfortable with my workflow, and I also like I don't know if I'm working on more like EDM tracks, like those are obviously going to take like upwards of 4 hours a track for me to get done. And I'm
yeah.
going to come back to it over a span of like weeks because I just don't have the attention span to keep hammering away at it over and over again.
Right,
So like
right.
these hip hop beats, like if it's a good loop and I know exactly what I want over it, I can knock one of these out in like 25 minutes. If I'm writing my own melody, it can be somewhere in the order of 1 to like 3 hours. If it's a full EDM composition that like really goes crazy, I don't know. I've seen it take many hours. And
Yeah,
like that's okay. Like it is because that is a greater intent applied. Like there's more things that you have moving, and it's just overall like it is more complex. There's more that you have to kind of appreciate about it. So it's not like it's you have to make things quickly and just move on from it. I just kind of got used to the idea that not every track I was going to make was going to be perfect, and a lot of them were mostly just going to be learning experiences. And
that
if I made enough of them along the way, I was going to find something cool about it.
well, that's what I was gonna say. Is it's the emotional attachment makes it harder for you to like say this track is done, or like this track is finished,
Uh huh.
and that's a struggle I definitely personally have. But it's I just as a fact, it's if you're more emotionally attached to it, it's like it's basically, yeah, it's like having a child. Like you don't want to let it go. You just want to keep working on it.
Hmm.
And then what I really love the idea of like you kind of like in a trench coat, like in a studio, being like, hey, what I got what you need, and you just kind of like whip out you just kind of like whip out like you open your jacket, and you got R&B, EDM, pop style, like
Right. Like in different pockets, just like, hey, I got what you need.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's totally
That's
something I think our artists should strive. I think that's a great strategy to like get your foot in the door. You're totally right about that. Definitely push yourself, because somebody who is more quote unquote successful than you could really like your work, and all you got to do is kind of like just branch out a little bit and have that vault. I think that vault is really important. I have a whole show called Into the Vault, where I just like grab something and kind of reanalyze it after however long it's been sitting in there.
yeah. No, that's definitely like an interesting concept because a lot of what I make, like very much so, will probably not see the light of day. And that's one thing that like as a beginning producer is just so tough to deal with because you want everything that you make because you think it's great, and it very well might be great, but it might have just like not connected with the right artists. The people that you have in your current network might just not be able to take it where it needs to be right now, and that's okay. Like there's one thing that I really learned to distinguish was some artists might just not like the vibe that they got from the track. Not like a personal thing, it just didn't fit them, and it's not like it was always very personal at the beginning when I would send beats to people and they're like, "Nah, like it. Like, do you have anything else?" And I'm like, "Well, shit, those are like my best beats. What do you mean that's not it? That's all I got." Um, like, uh, and that's okay. Those beats might be the "oh, bro, we got one" text, like from just another artist that might be a better fit for you. And no diss to like the artist that said that wasn't their vibe, anyways. Like, you don't want to be around people that say yes to every beat you send.
Yeah.
Like, yes men are really cool for building up self confidence, but then you get a lot of okay tracks out of it. The people that are like super picky, if you can land with them, ooh, then you got something going. And then undoubtedly, yeah, that shit is dope.
I completely agree. No, I need like I have friends that don't listen to EDM, and that's mainly what I produce. But I show them my music anyway because I'm always trying to find that middle ground. And like
Uh-huh.
sometimes I'll go, sometimes I'll torture them, with some of the weird sounds I'm coming up with. But some other times, and that's when I get a lot of the no, I don't like this. No, even if it's coming from a place of, somebody who I don't even think really understands the scene or vibe that I'm going for. Um, I still think that like going through that terrain is still really important, like as an artist, to just
Yeah.
be able to listen to what people have to say, like and really think about why they have to say it. There's an infinite amount of reasons as to why your music doesn't land with them, and the most important thing as an artist, I think, is just to make sure that your music lands with you. Um,
Yeah. No, that's 100% like a really big thing because it really depends on your audience what kind of reaction you're going to get from them. And it's almost like a rite of passage when you kind of come to that realization where it's it's not it's not always you, it can also be them. And when you start out, you only think that you are the problem. You think that, oh, they listen to normal music, like there's no taste could ever be like not bro, people have shitty music taste. Like it is very real that they just might not get it. And I have so many people that just don't get some of my music. Like I make so so many melodic trap and like Uzi style, like hyper pop beats. And I don't have anyone that I know that I was planning to send them to. All I know is that that shit is crazy. And whenever I find someone that's able to rock on it, ooh, it's a done deal.
hey,
But
yeah.
until then, like the people, I'm not gonna send those beats to people that make like pop punk rap, like people that make like rock, like infused with rap. Like they're not gonna get hyper. If I play it for a room of people that only listen to like Chicago drill, they're not gonna get it. They might see that it's cool, but understand that it's not for them. So like it might not always be you, which is something that you also have to kind of come to terms with and understand how to read because it could be you. I'm not saying it's not always going to be you, but sometimes it could just be the room that you're trying to entertain.
I think I got the most practice of that my first couple weeks at Wando's. That, that
Yeah.
that was my real introduction to like reading a room,
No,
and not pissing off a
100%.
room too.
And that's like a huge thing that like DJing really kind of gave me clarity to is that like understanding how to read rooms and like what people want from you is big. It's so big because then you can play a beat that you very well think is mid. Or like if you're in a session and they're like, yo, like pull this up. The understanding that like to you it might be cool if you have like 18 layers of percussion underneath this melody and there's a bunch of interesting grooves and swing and syncopated parts. That might be cool. The artist might just be looking for four drums that go stupid. And also giving yourself challenges to do more with less, like to only use like four sounds in a beat. Like maybe you just want, or maybe five sounds in the beat. Maybe you just want kick, clap, hi hat, snare, 808. But you want those five sounds to do a lot more than what you're used to using them with. Like everyone starts production on a self taught train, and you build these rules in your head that don't really make sense and you don't know why, but they're governing rules because you have to anchor yourself somehow. And as you get later on in your music production career, you understand that yeah, most of that shit was probably really stupid. But it worked for to get you to where you are, but you got to reevaluate. Might not always be something that like really makes sense. Like I have a rule that my 808s can't hit when my claps hit. Why? I could not tell you. I have no idea why. But it's just something that I told my it's like no, can't do that. That's just not how that works. But if you're able to take those four or five like key drums and make them do more, like make your hi-hats not just two step, make them do super interesting rolls and have like lower hi-hats that add bounce off of the original hi-hat. And make it like speak more, make your snare rolls sound like it's a different percussion and not just hit on the twos and fours and then the in-betweens to give it bounce. Like find other pockets that can make these drums come to life and do more for the beat. And when you learn to do more with less, you learn that really you might need like 6 drums. If you want to be crazy, you could maybe fit 10. But like, it doesn't have to have all this crazy shit going on. I'll still make beats every now and then with 20 different drum things being layered on. And that's when like the beat is very drum, but not every beat is going to be like very drum focused. So learning to do more with less is super key. And maybe sometimes people just want that simple beat. Maybe they just want that incredibly clipped 808 that just threatens to blow a sub, a clap, and some hi-hats that have an enormous amount of pocketed bounce to them. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
And that's all that has to be. That could be a banger.
No, that will
basic is not simple.
That will get a room moving, like, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like when it's easy for people to understand, that's great. Like music is a mix of predictability and unpredictability, and like I said, like one thing that blew my mind when I first picked up on it and someone told me was that like I always used to know that I don't know, like I thought simple, like if I was only doing like a couple things to a beat, I was like, oh, but like this feels like I'm cheating. Like if I just took a loop, put like 3 drums on it, I'm like, I didn't really do anything. I didn't warp the sample, I didn't chop it, I didn't pitch shift it. Sometimes that shit might just be raw, bro, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally.
And basic is not simple, and simple is not basic. And that shit blew my mind, and it took me a couple days to really understand. But that changed everything. Once I realized that, like, simple doesn't have to mean that it's like basic or it's easy to do. Like, bro, no one else made that beat. You made that beat. You put those claps, those 808s, those hi-hats, whatever. Like, you put that together. You arranged it. No one else did that. Might have had a melody loop. Great. That was a collaboration. You took someone else's melody that they spent time writing, and you sat down and you're like, I'm going to put my own spin on this. Boom. You made it your beat. That's done. No one's going to question you. No one's going to pull up and ask you to pull up like the FLP or the file in a session and be like, nah, you only did the drums. I'm not using this. Shut the fuck up.
No, you're totally
like,
right.
Do what you want. As long as it's good, as long as it sounds good, do what you want. No one cares. You might think people care. Other producers might care. Other producers are not buying your beats. So again, understanding your audience, the room, who you're trying to sell to, what kind of a market you're trying to reach are all really big things that I never appreciated until I got like a little further along with music.
Yeah, no, that's it was again back to the Wando experience. Like I don't think I can express how big a culture shock that was to me. You know, like just the I really didn't know my market, and I started playing some EDM bangers, and that's not what that crowd wanted to hear. And
you see everyone turn around and DJ like, "Hey, bro, like."
Like, hey, can you stop? And the thing is, like, my whole idea of what a DJ was shattered within 30 milliseconds, I guess. Like, it was like I have always looked at DJs as somebody that I can hear new music from. Like I go to DJs or I look for good DJs who can introduce me to music that I really like but that I've never heard before. And I was in the complete opposite environment. And that was like it was I didn't expect that. I didn't even like I guess the bar, I don't know, I landed that gig in a really weird way anyways. But yeah, no, you did. And that was my personal introduction into then realizing that I had to start getting familiar with tracks that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, and that's just one thing I had to do. And it really and doing that even influenced my style, because I started thinking, you know, well, like personally I don't like reggaeton like at all. It's not really I insult a lot of my family because that's kind of what they go out and party to, but I just I don't like it that much. It's really, it's kind of like house music for me. It's 4 on the floor and I get kind of bored because I'm ADD. And at one point I was just playing so much music at Wando's that I didn't really. Or for anybody who might hear this in the future, Wando's is a bar in Madison, Wisconsin. That is just it's just a college bar. It's nothing too special there.
It was a cool place though. Like we played shows there. That was like my first like real like DJing gig that I started like doing, and no, like it really is kind of crazy because that was a great example of what like you have to kind of do what the audience expects you to do. Like the audience might have not wanted someone that was like scratching records and doing crazy cuts and like beat matching by hand. Like nah, they want to play one top 40 hit and just volume fade that shit into another song. Like they did not care how that transition came out. Like if you had a sick transition, that could have been super dope, but that wasn't what they were expecting from you to do. All you had to do was just like understand what they kind of wanted to hear and play that. Boom. Like, and you had a great night ahead of you.
And
Like,
that was
I literally got Wando shut down. I don't think I did anything crazy besides just like, I don't know, a couple interesting transitions and just good picks of the next song. Like, that's all it was.
Absolutely. No, that was the thing. Once I kind of got over that initial shock, I was like, all right, well, here's what I'm working with, and the bar. I realized I was in control of the bar. Uh, I was like, oh wait a minute, they do just want me to fade out and fade in with no skill whatsoever. I can, so it was like it was kind of funny to know that I could retreat to that, but then it was also funny to know that I could be like the best DJ they ever saw if I just didn't do that.
Right, like that's all it needed to be, and then like maybe later you start like throwing in some like wild transitions or cuts that they didn't know they wanted to hear. You kind of had to just feed them exactly what they wanted to hear and exactly what they expected. Like you didn't have to go above and beyond the bar to be their favorite DJ. Their favorite DJ was just the one that like played the hits that they wanted to hear, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. No. So I mean, it's I think the point maybe that we could take away is like that was a great stepping stone, but I think it's also really important to be in a little bit more of a supportive audience, if you get what I mean. Like if you like. Yeah, and I guess like surrounding yourself with people and vibes that are gonna really support your vision, but then also take away from the situations where maybe you don't find yourself in that audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that like one thing that was really big for me when I first started was realizing like how when you first start making music, you no longer hear music the same way ever again.
Oh yeah, no, that, no, there's no cure.
And then you kind of realize like, oh, there's no like particularly bad music. Like you can learn something from just about every style of music, even dare I say country. But like you can learn something from every style, and similarly like from every audience, even if it's not one that you're pertaining to, you can take things away and you can learn things that might not be earth shattering or like completely like ground, like simple things, small simple things, and you can like take away from even an audience that you don't like really cater to or doesn't fit your style at all. Like you can get some shitty feedback from someone who doesn't like your music because you played it at the wrong time for the wrong room. But you can also understand that like, all right, like wrong place and time aside, I still kind of did get some like head nods in there, and some people were like liking it. Maybe it was just like wasn't like the right place for it, or not. Like they seem to be catering more towards these beats that are kind of structured like this, or they want more melodic piano and super hard 808s underneath it because that kind of feeds into what they're looking for. Like you can pick things up.
Right.
It's not always going to be the room belong in that teaches you all the biggest lessons. Like learning where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be are equally important.
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. Well, yeah, wow, that a great way to put it. Even when I got a room full of angry people, I saw two smirks that were like, "I got you, bro,"
Right? Like, all right, like I see what you were trying to do, but yeah, no, that's not what this girl's trying to throw ass to. So help me out, bro.
Yep.
Like that's it's understanding intent, it's understanding the room, it's understanding the vibe. It's all of it.
Yeah, well, I guess as far as DJing goes, and then I guess we got into that because we were talking about selling beats, which is something that I
Hmm.
haven't really done. Because, yeah, no, I guess my beats are never really that amazing for rapping over, or singing over. They're usually like really bassy and instrumental, and I'm like, I also don't want someone over it because I'm always like, no, there's all these intricate details in the background that you need to hear, and if there's a vocal on it, you won't hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like that's also perfectly acceptable. Like not everyone needs to have a beat store, and I've kind of learned and put together that like for any successful beat store or whatever, like you kind of need a platform and a presence to reach people that are all within that same market, and that's not something you can just like procure all the time. So there are like a bunch of different avenues for like your experimental music that might not necessarily fit vocals. I would chase just like posting on Spotify as like an instrumentalist or like I don't know, be your own artist. That is perfectly fine. That is more than enough.
Yeah.
There's now space for that as well in today's music industry, and that wasn't something that was always super apparent to me. But like, there's a lot of people out there that enjoy just listening to beats.
Yeah, no, I was definitely one of those people. I've been I mean, but there was a lot of instrumental rock that I grew up listening to, that
Hmm.
kind of introduced me to that market, like Liquid Dream, or what is it? No, Liquid Tension Experiment. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Dream Theater, Steve Vai, like all these crazy guitarists. Like I was always really into that type of music. So I was always hip to the instrumental game, but it was funny because I feel like it really started blowing up as I started discovering more EDM instrumentals, and like it was funny because like I'd always find these artists that were really cool, and I'd listen to them, and then like a year later they blew up, and then it was just
Oh,
it was just like a constant cycle of me like finding instrumental EDM that I liked, and then it becoming like really huge in the scene, like not but a year later. So I was like, huh, maybe there is something here. Maybe people do like this.
right. No, I definitely get that. And I don't know, that was one thing that like I said, when I first started posting beats to Spotify, like I didn't think I was reaching an audience like that. But I don't know, happy accidents.
Definitely.
That's what
No,
it worked
I
out.
really like your style of keeping everything, or having these projects as a log, or sorry, releasing so many so that you can really see the progression in such a short like amount of time. It's
Yeah. And
that's
like even
something I'm going
releasing
for with the I Can't Produce project, is just kind of having like
uh-huh.
a series of, it's like a time, it's just a time capsule. Like,
Exactly. No, it really is. And like I make an effort to always put like 5 tracks out at a time because I want different styles to be captured. I have everything on there. I have like just such a wide variety of different tracks that I like that just didn't get placed anywhere. And that allows me to compare it to just about any other sound that I'm currently working on and be like, you know what? Well, even if maybe these aren't getting placed, I know that they are getting better. I like them a lot more, and I'm getting more comfortable with my sound and more confident with my production. And that's really the biggest thing. Like being able to have that confidence to know when the beat is done. That's all it is. Understanding that like, yep, this is all the artist needs. This is like I can let this fly and it's gonna be a hit right now. 25 minutes into the beat, done. And it might not always be the case, but it is just a getting that, yeah, I guess just the self-confidence and the assurance that you know like when it's done. Because when you first start, you're like, oh, what more does this need? What more does this need? Hey bro, it was done 3 layers ago.
yeah.
Now you were just adding more things because you're not sure when it was done. And when it sounds complete is probably when there's no more head.
Yeah, I feel
So
like it comes to a point where it's how far do you want to take it, and
exactly.
yeah, and I've been learning that lesson very recently. Like I've had a lot of music projects that I'm just like, wow, this sounds good. I spent however
Hmm.
many hours on this, it's passable. I know, like, I've been listening to it on repeat already, but
Yeah,
how far do
that's all
I,
that. That's
how
all
far
it
do I
is.
want to take it? And yeah, no, but to anyone who might be trying to just pump and sell beats, totally, that's a level of confidence that you should also try and achieve, just because that'll help you sell immediately.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
I guess, what are we at? 55 minutes? Yeah, no, so I don't have a specific time frame, but I'll to keep this music related, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I guess, do you have time? Do you got more
Oh yeah, yeah, I got
got more
time for one more
minutes?
question.
Nice. These are just kind of like, I yeah, these are just pinpoints that I've written down. Um One of them is, where do you get your name? But I know that one. Uh, uh,
Yeah, I guess quick just comment on it. I don't know. I used to go by like some other different moniker. It was Bare Bones because I
oh
thought that it
yeah,
was
I remember
super
Bare Bones.
unique that I went by like I thought that it was a unique experience that I was self-taught and I didn't have like software experience or I didn't play any instrument or whatever, and I built it up from the bare bones. And I thought that was really clever. Then I looked around and I realized, nope, that is actually what everyone that has produced music did. So congrats, that's not special. But it also kind of felt like I don't know a name that I had outgrown, and I was kind of searching for what I wanted to do. I realized like, wow, like I have an incredibly unique name as is, and it was also at a time in my life when I'm kind of shifting to just like I don't know my biggest thing and motif that I try and just really hold on to that grounds me with all of this is just that like I just want to be as authentically me and just as genuine as possible. And the biggest step that I could take with that is just starting by like just being Prashant. Like that's it. It's all there is.
it's
It is
all
me.
it's
Hello.
all it's all right
There's no
there.
stage name.
I,
So
I
that was a big thing. It was a step for me to try and just become more authentic to myself and what styles I like. And it was also like just a turning point for both my music because I felt like I had outgrown my starting name, and it just signified a change. I think.
yeah, no, I remember the Bare Bones account. Not that,
Yeah.
yeah, again, it's like you didn't your style evolved a little bit, but like I think we both here. I'll restart. I think we both really share the vision of. I think this is why we're pretty good friends. I think we both, despite our style of music, I think our goal is significantly similar, which is we both just
Uh,
want to be really authentic with when it comes to what the song that we hear in our head is.
yeah.
And
Like I just want if people like it, cool, they like it, and they'll like it because I like this is just what I want to make, and this is my style. Um, and if they don't, that's cool. I'll just maybe try and find an audience that reacts to it a little bit more.
right, yeah, no, it's and there totally is an audience. That's what the 21st century has taught me. Like, there's an audience for you.
Uh,
Um, but finding it is I think like the biggest challenge of the music industry nowadays, because it's the music industry has like done a complete 180 in the last 20 years. Like, everything I ever thought I knew about it just doesn't even apply anymore, I feel like.
yeah, it's constantly evolving. I don't know, like 2 years ago, what TikTok wasn't even a thing. TikTok was a joke because I remember seeing ads for it and being like, "Ah, catch on." And then next thing I know, it is probably like of the biggest social media platforms right now and just has the most eyes on it.
Yeah.
And now you don't need like a record label to springboard you into fame. All you need is just like some hot girl to make up a dance and throw some ass and call it a challenge. And there you go. You got a slingshot. And that's not like trying to like throw shade. Like that's just how things have evolved. And it is now like a new that people can work with, and I've seen people do like really successful things with. So it's super cool, and it's constantly changing. But like the rules of the game have definitely.
So, how do you feel about like people trying to manipulate the algorithm to blow up, like, inauthentically, I guess you could say? Because I feel like there's a lot of that out there. Because when I started trying to get serious about social media, which I'm still not so serious about it yet, all of it really came down to this really robotic, systematic, like, this is how you beat the algorithm and this is how you get on trending. And it was like completely devoid of anything art related. It was just so like cold. Do you like do you ever try and push your music up, like try and get reposts, try and I guess you could say manipulate the market for your music? Because I just see a lot of artists doing that. That's something that I don't do, because I guess I just kind of post my music again. Yeah, how do you feel about that? Do you know artists that like just are all about clout?
Oh, yes, 100%. And I know that there's like, I don't know, it's not like the worst thing to go out and like pay for plays and stuff like that and get like a bunch of bot accounts on Spotify or bot playlists to just like pump your song. But at the end of the day, I don't know, you don't really get any real engagement out of it. And same thing if you like buy followers on Instagram, like pretty fucking easy to figure out who has paid followers based on the stupid comments or just the inconsistent like ratio on your posts and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think that there's definitely upsides to it. Like, yes, it's a marketing thing. People don't want to be the first person to come and find an artist and help break them. Like, people want to already join a winning team, which makes sense. So if you have more followers and they're like, oh, they're already ride with them. Like, people already like them. People know about. I'm gonna be on the way up. Like, people don't want to find it before it's on its way up and gaining momentum. But at the same time, like, everyone that I know knows, like, my big thing is that if it's gonna work, it's gonna work, and good music will speak for itself. And there's certainly pros to getting like reposts from bigger accounts and promo accounts. But if you look at those promo accounts, a good deal of their bot or just fan pages that the same guy like made. Like, it's all just such cap. There's so much cap, and I just don't like being a part of any of it. I don't care if I don't have as many followers or as many likes as whatever. Like, I have as many likes as I have, and that's like a big thing. That actually touches on a big thing that like I kind of had an epiphany about the other day, is that wherever you are in your music journey, whether you're starting out, you had like some success and you're trying to find it again, like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. It's not like, oh man, I deserve to be. No, no, no. You're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And you will maybe down the road, couple months, couple years, an opportunity will present itself and you'll step up to the plate and you'll knock it out of the park and you'll find yourself more success with that. But wherever you are, right, if you are trying to become a producer, you got to understand that the journey is the destination. And like, as high as that sounds, like, you have to fall in love with the process or you're gonna hate all of this. Because most of it is just hours spent in the studio that no one cares about and no one's checking on you for. No one's making you accountable for the time that you put in your day. It's saying no to always, like, I don't know, just hanging out with friends and doing stuff. Like, you have to make time for your work, for your marketing, and for your business, because that's what it is. You are a self-sustaining small business that tries to push a product, and your product is your music. And wherever you're supposed to be is exactly where you are. And that's just like one of the big things that I've kind of recently come on to and realized that, like, wherever I find myself, whatever I'm trying to do, the songs and albums I'm working on, it's not there by accident. And people want to work with me not by accident. And maybe I got really lucky, 1 million streams on Spotify, but like, I'm not going to call it an accident. Like, everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen. I wasn't supposed to drop this tape and have it blow up and get eyes on me and suddenly have like a oddly large fan base in South America. Like, it just happened. And if it's supposed to happen, it will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but if you just stay consistent, good music wins. And that's just like what I believe at the end of the day.
We totally agree on that. And stepping up to the plate, or knowing when the plate is there and stepping up to it, is also like it has projected me it's projecting me forward in that respect in my music journey. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, you are, if you're putting in the work, especially in today's music economy, like, you are probably where you are supposed to be. I completely agree with that
exactly.
statement. Yeah,
There's no substitute for 1,000 hours in the studio, and all that 1,000 hours in the studio is probably going to do for you is make you more confident, give you a larger arsenal to pull from, and when opportunity presents itself, you have been training the entire 1,000 hours. Maybe that opportunity might not even work out. Maybe that's not the one, but you're doing a lot better than if you didn't do anything. All of a sudden, someone hits you up and was like, "Yo, real shit. I'm about to lock in with Future. I'm about to be in the studio. Send me some loops. Send me some beats. I'll let you know what happens." If you've been just like not putting in the work and you kind of have some stuff, maybe you have something that hits. I don't know. It's all probability. But if you've been putting in 1,000 hours and you have an arsenal of beats and you're like, I don't know, I might not have that one beat that Future might like, but I have hundreds that are styled similarly and I can pull out something right now that I know is going to smack, you're just in a way better position to win. And I think that, I don't know, there's some like super cliche quote where it's like, luck is just when opportunity meets preparedness or something like that. I don't really know. That's literally all it is. Just do the work. Nothing's gonna replace it, and find your ends. That's it.
yeah, community. Yeah, that's why I was thinking, or was saying, community is really important. You know, it is all about probability. Surround yourself in the right community. You're more likely to have an opportunity that you want pop up. You're totally right. You have an arsenal of good music versus an arsenal of music you spent a little bit less time with. You know, there are no guarantees. There's going to be someone who deserves it, who doesn't get it, and there's going to be somebody who doesn't deserve it who gets the shot. But
absolutely.
But again, that's just it's almost like playing the lottery, but it's not. It's gambling, but there's plenty of ways to stack the odds in your favor.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
no, 100. That's like a really big thing that I've been working towards myself, because it's not like an easy thing to come to grips with. Like, no one wants to hear that like someone who deserves it isn't going to get it, and someone who doesn't deserve it is going to get it all the time. Like, but you know what? Like, I don't know. At any point, I've understood recently that like success is more accurately measured in how much you are willing to give up for it and how much you're willing to sacrifice. And maybe that person you think didn't deserve it has just given up a lot more hours and has just done a lot more in their off time that you didn't see, that makes you think that they didn't deserve it.
right.
Maybe they just put in more hours than maybe they didn't. I don't know. But it's all possible. Just got to find yourself at the right place at the right time. And if you have yourself there and you find yourself at the right place at the right time and you have the right materials on hand, who's to say what's going to happen?
I think you might be a great example of what happens. Especially.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Nothing would have really blown up if I never even took the chance at trying to post on Spotify, and then I don't know, things just kind of snowballed on their own.
Yeah. No, that I mean, and the things that I've put out have really just been my mixes, and those were just kind of out of raw, like, hey, those were like, hey, I just want to hear this music, like this is for me because I want to hear it, and I think I'm just kind of rambling. This show, this interview is about you, not me. But speaking of, I think I'm gonna wind it down just because.
Yeah, no, definitely. I need to also probably be on my way out. I got some dinner plans calling.
Dope. Well, this has been fucking awesome. This has been really cool. Thank you so much for doing this for me.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's dope to be on the date episode. I appreciate you reaching out.
Hell yeah, bro. And yeah, no. So everybody, this is my good homie PRASHANT, and I'm about on the way out. We're gonna play his song "Summer" on his new volume 4. So I put the link to his Spotify in the description, so definitely check it out. And yeah, no, that is the I Can't Produce a Podcast episode number 1. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hell yeah. All right, peace out.
Deuce, man.
Oh shit. Is this yours, Prashant?
And that's the show. Thanks.